The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Obamacare-related apoplexy continues from the right. It's not even making any sense anymore. I have the funniest video to play for you. As you may know, if you've been following this program or others, or were a viewer of The View, Elizabeth Hasselbeck, who was conservative in amongst mostly liberal co-hosts, left The View and went to Fox News. Not unexpected. And she's involved with Fox and Friends. And they were doing a segment about, specifically, it sounded like maybe it was related to Obamacare if you just flipped by, but it really wasn't. It was about United Healthcare, a for-profit insurance company, dropping thousands of doctors from their Medicare Advantage program. Now, remember, Medicare Advantage has nothing to do with Obamacare. The Affordable Care Act does not at all have anything to do with the specifics of Medicare Advantage. It has nothing to do with it. And Medicare Advantage, as is Medicare, is for mostly elderly people, okay? Listen to what Elizabeth Hasselbeck says. She sounds completely out of place, talking about all of the women that are pregnant and are losing their Medicare Advantage doctor. Check this out.
Yes, that's in the program.
Right.
We don't know how many thousand have been dropped, okay?
Right.
But thousands have been dropped. What about their patients? What about the people who used to have this doctor who now no longer have this doctor? Broken promise.
And a lot, many of those people are women who are expecting babies and who who have a real relationship with their physician and want to see the same doctor deliver possibly their second child. And they are now left in the dark at a time that they're feeling quite vulnerable.
Most of them are elderly. And how do they go about keeping the doctor that they've had for many, many years?
Well,
what do they do now?
Yeah, well,
And then Stuart Varney, who I guess realized the idiocy of what Elizabeth Hasselbeck was saying, said right after she talks about most of these women who were pregnant, maybe with their second child, losing their doctor, he says, well, most of them are elderly. And she says, yeah. I got an email from Rich, who did some research. He found only 23 documented women in the entire world who were 65 or older that even had been pregnant, and not all of them carried the baby to term. Your most popular morning cable news show, ladies and gentlemen. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, more of the usual from Elizabeth Hasselbeck, I suppose. I mean, I think really the only reason she's on the program is because she's got a pretty face.
Yeah, this doesn't make any sense. And people, it was funny because the co-hosts were kind of just looking very stern. Anytime on Fox News, specifically Fox and Friends, when an Obamacare story comes up, everybody has to do this kind of generic, we're very concerned and displeased, Mr. President. Sometimes they cross their arms, and they look very, very serious. And you have to have a serious look on your face to prevent an outburst of crazy laughter when Elizabeth Hasselbeck talks about all of the women on Medicare that are going to have to switch doctors in the middle of their pregnancies.
Yeah, I mean, everyone around her there had to play the straight face game and, try not to laugh, I'm sure. And they did a pretty good job.
George Zimmerman has been arrested again. The only difference is this time he has a beard. Otherwise, nothing has really changed. I have audio of the 911 call. CNN has a write-up about this. He was charged yesterday with felony aggravated assault after allegedly pointing a shotgun at his new girlfriend, according to Dennis Lemma, who is the chief deputy with the Seminole County, Florida Sheriff's Office. So George Zimmerman was acquitted earlier this year of murdering teenager Trayvon Martin, who he claims he had to kill in self-defense. He was arrested after the incident this weekend, or yesterday, I guess this week, at the home of Samantha Scheib. He was also charged with 2 misdemeanors in addition to the felony: domestic violence, battery, and criminal mischief. He's being held without bail. And I think within the next hour or two, he's expected to make his first appearance in front of a judge. Let's play some of the audio where you will hear the accusations that he is pointing a gun at, I guess this woman is his girlfriend, and reports are that also she's pregnant. I don't know if it is George Zimmerman's kid. Like, did George Zimmerman impregnate someone already? I don't know what's going on. Let's listen to a little bit of this 911 audio.
What's going on?
He's in my house breaking all my shit. I asked him to leave. He has his freaking gun breaking all of my stuff right now.
Okay.
I'm doing this again? You just broke my glass table. You just broke my sunglasses, and you put your gun in my freaking face and told me to get the out because this is not your house. No,
Yeah.
get out of here.
Okay.
And it goes on like that for quite some time. There's also another 911 call, which apparently George Zimmerman made, and he called to report that his girlfriend was, quote, for lack of a better term, going crazy on me and throwing his things out. And when he was asked, sir, why are you calling? Because I guess the police were already there talking to the woman. He said, I just want everyone to know the truth. Can you, if this is true, Lewis, the police are already there. There's already been a 911 call, right? The first responders that presumably show up when you call 911 have already arrived. That's not enough for George Zimmerman. This guy, I guess we know he made 50 911 calls or something. He's so into calling 911. He says, the cops are here. I'll call anyway.
Well, think about it this way. I mean, 911 has never failed him. Every time he's called 911, he's gotten away with whatever
Some kind
he
of
did.
crime. Yeah, it's amazing. He says he never pulled a firearm. He says that it was in a bag and locked. He says it's the girlfriend that broke the table. It's amazing. This happened a couple of months ago. So many times police show up and there's an initial claim that George Zimmerman had a gun pointed at someone or had a gun on him and kind of used it in a threatening manner. And then all of a sudden, either he denies it or the accuser changes their story. It's truly incredible, the good luck that George Zimmerman seems to have.
Yeah, he has been, well, I don't know. He did have to go through that whole trial, and now his life is pretty much a disaster. So maybe a bit of bad luck there. But I don't know, maybe he just never should have called 911 that day with Trayvon.
Yeah, I think we at this point, who could possibly still be saying everything that happened is God's will and it all needed to happen after the 911 call about Trayvon? So also, where are you in life that you start dating George Zimmerman after he killed someone and punched his ex-wife's dad? What makes you say, I think there was probably, I don't know, some kind of context that was missing from that. Seems like a guy I want to start dating.
Probably one of these people who just liked his celebrity. There's all sorts of criminals who have big fan bases. And
Interesting.
The Boston Marathon bomber, he had a huge fan base. So probably that type of person.
Imagine that. Does George Zimmerman have a fan club of women now? I know about all the dudes who are big into guns and they buy him suits sometimes or help him out in different ways. But are there women that are romantically interested in George Zimmerman as a result of all this? It's an amazing country we live in, Lewis. Let's put it that way. Walmart is holding a food drive. That sounds nice. For its own employees because they need food. Business Insider has a report about this. There's a Cleveland Walmart store that's holding a food drive for its own employees. They say, please donate food items so our associates in need can enjoy Thanksgiving dinner. The Cleveland Plain Dealer first reported this. It's sparking outrage in the area. Norma Mills, who's a customer there, says that Walmart would have the audacity to ask low-wage workers to donate food to other low-wage workers. To me, it's a moral outrage. I actually thought that Walmart was asking customers to donate food to the employees. What is going on here? A company spokesman defended the food drive, saying, this is not evidence of low wages. This is evidence that employees care about each other. Isn't that nice, Lewis?
Yeah, I love the answers these people give to just about everything. When asked about wages, they always factor in the wages of executives and and managers, and it's just they're always kind of beating around the bush.
When there was a poll done in the Cleveland Plain Dealer asking people, what do you think about the food drive? 87% said, I think this illustrates that Walmart needs to pay their employees better wages. 9% said, I think this program helps Walmart employees through their hardships. 3% didn't know what to say. So we have to dismiss this idea that corporations like Walmart, McDonald's comes to mind because of a story we did a couple of weeks ago, are completely self-sufficient and kind of the golden child that we should be championing of the capitalist system. Because remember, McDonald's has this phone line where employees can call. It's like the McHelp line or something like that. And when you call and you say you're having trouble affording stuff as an employee, they say, well, you should definitely sign up for food stamps. You should definitely look into getting Medicaid if your income is too low, and we're not offering you health insurance. The idea that the companies by themselves are actually self-sustaining is absurd. McDonald's is depending on government benefits so that their employees can continue working there. Walmart has wages so low that they need food drives. Do you realize that the amount of productivity lost by employees even thinking about donating some cans of food is probably more or less the same as what it would cost Walmart to just give them food or pay a little bit more? Why aren't people thinking about this?
I don't know. When you hear $15+ billion in profit, you have to wonder if to the executives and the upper management of Walmart that this is just some type of game where the higher that number goes, the cooler you are, and that's the only thing I can think of that's actually happening here.
Yeah, it's just amazing. So there you go. Walmart employees are doing a food drive, which is wonderful, for Walmart employees. Yeah. Let's, before we break, talk about Florida. We talked about this on the bonus show yesterday. I can't believe this, Lewis. We've been talking about gay rights and marriage equality for years on this program, and you often hear the slippery slope on shows like Bill O'Reilly and others. Listen, if 2 men can get married, what's to stop 2 men and 3 women from getting married? And what's to stop 2 men from marrying a giraffe? And what's to stop 3 women from getting married to a saxophone, right? That's the slippery slope. It seems that it is true that people might start marrying inanimate objects, but it appears to have nothing to do with gay marriage whatsoever. Let's look at Florida, Lewis, whereas the New York Daily News reports, Florida, a state with no marriage equality, no gay marriage, no lesbian marriage, no bisexual marriage, call it whatever you want, because of course they are pro-family, has a woman who has now married a Ferris wheel. The woman is married to a Ferris wheel. Linda Ducharme is her name. She's previously had intimate relationships with an airplane and a train, now married a Ferris wheel type device known as the skydiver. And remember, she's married to the Ferris wheel, but 2 men aren't able to get married. I don't know what to say. A non-denominational preacher married them and said, "I tie you, flesh to steel." I got this weird feeling I can't explain, says Ducharme, the first time she met the Ferris wheel back in 1982. She says, "My heart was pounding as we went up the platform and got on the ride. I felt like I was being taken by this ride." She already knew she had a proclivity for objects. She once fell in love with an airplane, and she also was involved in an intimate relationship with a train. In fact, she was fired after being caught in an embrace with the train. What that means, I couldn't possibly tell you, Lewis. Okay, what do you make of this, Lewis? Do you think that Linda Ducharme's mom, who was shocked by what happened as a very religious person, would actually prefer that her daughter just marry another woman instead of a train, plane, or ride?
No, I think they would prefer the inanimate object over what in their eyes would be an abomination.
Yeah. Lewis, you realize that we need to prevent people who are in loving, committed relationships, maybe to someone who happens to be of the same gender, because that would damage the sanctity of marriage. Doesn't that make sense, Lewis? That would be terrible if all of a sudden 2 dudes got married, because marriage is a complete, we need to maintain this incredible bond between a woman and her loving Ferris wheel.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm all about equality, but I'm going to have to say that I am against marriage to inanimate objects, David. That's where I draw the line.
Lewis, you're incredibly discriminatory. How dare you?
Well, David, I'm only human.
Yeah. On today's bonus show, we're going to talk about a crusader subculture in the U.S. military. We'll talk about a cat that's been summoned to jury duty in Boston, and what library book tested positive for herpes. Interesting. If you missed yesterday's bonus show, I gave a long and detailed explanation of where is Natan? Where is TV director Natan? He has an exciting new project. I told you everything about it on yesterday's bonus show. If you didn't hear that because you're not a member, we have an awesome membership special going on where you get a 1-year membership, a David Pakman Show zip-up hoodie made from recycled materials, and your choice of a bumper sticker, not available anywhere for sale, or Lewis or I will record your outgoing voicemail message. We had 6 people sign up for this overnight. That is an absolutely fantastic start to this membership special, which runs for another week. Please go to davidpakman.com/Thanksgiving13. You have to go to that page, davidpakman.com/Thanksgiving13. Sign up, support the program. It would be a pleasure to have you. And you will hear the incredible story of Where is Natan from yesterday's bonus show. Back after this.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com. Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Our membership program is made possible in part by liberalbias.com. Some statistics do suggest the economy is improving in spite of having a liberal president, but those statistics obviously have a liberal bias. Find out more at liberalbias.com. Today's new member of the day is Carl Codney. Carl, thanks for being a David Pakman Show member. You're doing a great thing. And Carl being joined in the last 24 hours by 6 new David Pakman Show members taking advantage of the Thanksgiving membership special, davidpakman.com/Thanksgiving13. It's awesome. I don't even know what to tell you. Check it out. Today in show history, what were we talking about years ago today on the David Pakman Show? 1 year ago today, Twinkie, which is manufactured by Hostess, claimed to be going out of business because of unions. We looked into it. It turned out the reality was far from their hyperbolic statements that unions caused us to go out of business. 2 years ago, on a segment of Morality with Motomedy, we actually haven't done that for a while, only because we haven't been getting suggestions from people, but we'd bring it back anytime. We had a question of Lewis's loyalty when crimes have been committed. It was, would Lewis report me if I had shoplifted? Would Lewis report me to the police if I had murdered, and vice versa? We kind of went through these questions. That was actually a really good segment, Lewis.
That was a pretty good one, yeah.
3 years ago today, we discussed whether a Jewish doctor in Germany was right or wrong to refuse to perform surgery on a man with a Nazi tattoo. There were conflicting views. Very good discussion 3 years ago today. Check that one out on our YouTube channel or member archives. And 4 years ago today, Lewis, we were joined by Ralph Nader. He joined us to discuss his then latest book, Only the Super Rich Can Save Us. We talked about the proposed healthcare reform. Very interesting to go back and listen to what Ralph Nader had to say 4 years ago about what has happened in part with health insurance and the Affordable Care Act. So that's today in show history. Of course, the full member archives of all these shows are available to our membership program, davidpakman.com/membership. There's the story we haven't talked about yet, and now it's kind of coming to at least an end in one sense and only the beginning in another sense. Theodore Wafer has been charged with murder in the shooting of Renisha McBride, and he was charged with second-degree murder, manslaughter, and a related gun charge. Now, Renisha McBride was a 19-year-old, and the story as we know it to date, Lewis, is that she appears to have been in a car accident, and several blocks away, she went to a house, and she showed up at that house and knocked on the door, and it happened to be the home of Theodore Wafer. It's not totally clear what happened during the contact between Theodore Wafer and Renisha McBride, but it ended with Wafer shooting Renisha McBride dead with his gun. And there is absolutely no evidence that it was a shooting in self-defense. It was not a close range shooting. Every indication is that she was outside of his home, and she died. She died right then and there. Initially, there was not a determination made about whether charges would or would not be filed against Theodore Wafer. They have been filed, and now we are going to get a trial. We know second-degree murder is tough, Lewis. We know that second-degree murder, when it came to George Zimmerman, led to an acquittal. Of course, the facts in that case are totally different than in this case. Do you think that at this point, this being different, there's not even... The facts are even clearer than they were when it came to the Zimmerman case. Can we all be pretty sure that Theodore Wafer wishes he had not shot and killed this woman now, and he probably realizes his life was not in danger? Or do you think that this may be a Zimmerman type situation where the guy to the end will maintain, I feared for my life?
Well, he could say that and not mean it too. In the end, he might just be glad he killed a black person. Who knows? It could be one of those situations. But it's impossible to say.
Yeah, and every time a story like this happens, you're not, I mean, Lewis is being a little bit facetious, but every time there's this discussion of, okay, hold on, what role did race play in this? What was the role of race here? And we don't really know for sure what it was, Lewis, but certainly people are asking about that.
You know what? If I think about it, I have a hard time believing that if it were a white man in his 40s or 50s wearing a suit who showed up on that doorstep, things might have gone a little bit differently.
When you frame it that way, it's hard to imagine. But remember, middle of the night, 1:40 in the morning. Detroit. Yeah, there's. We don't want to jump to conclusions, but we're not the only ones thinking of the racial components here. And these shootings, these homicides, whether they're black on black, white on white, Asian on Inuit, whatever they are tragic. When there are racial elements, they should lead us to have an additional conversation as well, regardless of what the races are. We're going to follow the story. Certainly, I think that this is the right charge. We will see eventually what a jury decides here. A Nazi leader who has been residing in Minnesota is now potentially going to be up on murder charges from a German prosecutor. Raw Story wrote this up. There's a German prosecutor recommending murder charges against the Minnesota carpenter for his role in the 1944 massacre of dozens of women and children during a Nazi-led attack on a Polish village. Thomas Will, deputy head of the Special Prosecutor's Office that investigates Nazi crimes, said he'd found enough evidence to recommend the prosecution of 94-year-old Michael Karkok. The Associated Press found that in 1949, he entered the U.S. by failing to reveal to authorities that he had commanded the SS-led Ukrainian Self-Defense Legion. Every time we have one of these stories, Lewis, there are 2 points of view. One is, listen, the guy's really old. He is not going to live much longer. What's the point of dragging him through this trial? I disagree with that point of view, Lewis. My feeling on this is pretty clear. These are some of the most heinous crimes of the last 100 years, and there have been a lot of heinous crimes committed by humans on this planet in the last 100 years. If he did commit these crimes, there is no statute of limitations. The fact that he is so old is the reason to prosecute, because he has lived since 1949 free when he should have been in prison. Those years are years that were bonus years for him. The fact that he, by evading justice, got those free years doesn't mean we should say, well, you kind of passed some kind of line. We'll let you have all your years for free. I think it's abundantly clear we need to prosecute every single one of these.
I say prosecute. Yeah. I'm not sure if it will result in jail time. I to be honest, I doubt it will, but sure, definitely.
Yeah, the whole point of these prosecutions is not exactly how much time he will end up spending in prison, but it's people need to be held accountable for their actions, and to turn a blind eye simply because a long time has passed is an implicit, it's implying that the crimes weren't that bad, or because they were a long time ago, it's not worth prosecuting, and it is absolutely wrong. And I think this is the right move. We'll We'll follow the trial. We'll see what happens. Join us on Facebook, facebook.com/David Pakman Show. Next, Lewis, we're going to do a simulcast with Sam Cedar's radio show. This should be cool. Stay with us.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com. Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
All right, we are back. Sam Cedar on the Majority Report. This is the fun half, trademarked. And on the program, we're doing a simulcast with the David Pakman Show. David, I was under the impression that you were going to interview me. And I also want to know, first off, why don't we start this off? How are we simulcasting? You're not live.
Well, I know that it may be the type of conversation that comes up in your YouTube live chat room. I know that I hear from people who say that people in Sam's chat room are incredibly angry that we're not live. And, I understand that. I know what's going on. We took a break from our live stream to up the production value of our show, Yeah,
okay. You got to get a better mic too, it sounds like.
I need to get a louder mic?
Well, you just sound, you're getting a lot of room ambience.
Wow, I've never heard this before, I have to tell you.
It would make sense that you would hear it from Sam.
Yeah,
as the
of course.
First bearer,
Listen, it may be because we're simultaneous. It's like a triple simulcast because producer Louis Motamedi from the David Pakman Show is joining us from Austin, Texas. Louis, are you doing any of your gaming or stuff like that might be making noise?
I'm quite confident I've got no noise coming from my room or being picked up by my microphone. I have no idea what's going on.
Okay, good.
This is Matt Binder, co-producer of the Majority Report, and I would just like to say, Louis is coming in much clearer than David Pakman is.
Definitely.
Okay.
Well, David's in New York City, in Manhattan. I mean, there's just lots of noise there, so that could have something to do with it.
Listen,
it sounds more like he's living under a bridge.
Yeah.
That's right.
Michael Brooks, also from the Majority Report. Lewis sounding strong from Austin.
Okay. Well, I was hoping to kind of talk about the problems right now because alternative media is getting shafted, but it sounds like the problem is I don't have good audio, and that's like the number one problem here. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one of them. We can put that on the heap. So what else? What else have we got today?
Have you been covering the whole thing that's going on with Walmart and McDonald's and how they're all recommending that their employees donate food to each other and get food stamps, and it's completely broken down the entire big corporations are the drivers of the economy and don't need the government thing?
I have been a little bit. We talked about the story about Walmart yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's it really is stunning that the idea that they have to have a canned food drive at Walmart. They could also walk out of the employee room where they're having those bins, and they could walk probably take a left and then a right and then walk into the massive store of canned goods that they have in every Walmart across the country. Or they could just simply pay their employees more. But yeah, I mean, I think we have seen this, to me, is a perfect time to be talking about increasing the minimum wage. And even if Walmart is paying its part-time workers $12 an hour, as they claim across the country, this will create some upward pressure on wages. But yes, obviously, this is just one more way in which the government subsidizes big corporations and puts obviously the claim that we made this, that we heard during the campaign to lie. So yeah, it's an important story. I mean, and we've covered it to a certain extent.
Yeah, and then there, piggybacking on that, there was the McDonald's thing where they have like the McHelp line, or call it whatever you want, where their employees call up and they say, I'm having trouble making ends meet. And the official McDonald's position on that is, well, here's how you apply for food stamps and here's how you apply for Medicaid. And it's just amazing because the justification for keeping the wages low is that, hey, it's a free market, but it's not really, because those wages are subsidized by government programs.
Yeah, I mean, this is this is a story that has been ongoing, and it's on some level, this is what these programs are for: is to help people who can't afford these things. I mean, if anything, it's a very good argument for things like Medicaid and for SNAP, but it also speaks to Walmart is the biggest employer in the country, and it speaks to a larger story, I think, of the depressed wages that most Americans, the vast majority of Americans, have been dealing with over the past 30 years now. So,
speaking of the health insurance component, where are you on this Obama lied about you can keep your plan thing? Because on the one hand, it's true that he did not really offer a very nuanced explanation of what that means, but Salon had an article about it, but corporate media has not talked about the fact that a lot of those plans that now are being canceled are plans that insurance companies continued to offer after they were already told that those weren't going to fly once Obamacare is implemented. They were, people who truly had plans that were grandfathered in are not having this problem. So it's not really fair to say that it was a lie, is it? Where do you fall on this?
Well, I mean, I think it's arguable as to whether or not it's a lie. It's certainly not a lie on the scale of there are no weapons of mass destruction. Let's invade and occupy this country and cause the deaths of anywhere from 200,000 to 800,000 people.
It's not like that, no.
No, and with that said, I think that I can understand why people perceive it as a lie. I think we're also the amount of people, however, that if one does consider it a lie, we're lied to is small. And I think part of it is that the insurance companies kept offering plans that they knew were not compliant. But the fact of the matter is, I had just mentioned this actually on the close of before we took the break, that you're talking about 17% of the people in the non-group insurance market carry their insurance policies for more than 2 years. This is this for the rest of those 73%, 83% of people, their policies are canceled all the time.
Right.
The difference is in this situation is that when your policy is canceled this time, you're guaranteed to be able to get a new policy, which wasn't the case a year ago. And so I think it's overblown. I think part of the problem is that the website is not functioning. The exchanges are not functioning on a federal level. And so people can't really see what their options are. And then part of it is, the media wants a story, and it's a slow news time. And this is a story to fill that vacuum. I think that, within 3 to 6 months, much of this is going to be largely behind us. I'm still, not necessarily thrilled with the mechanism, but the fact of the matter is that a big part of the Affordable Care Act was the expansion of Medicaid, and this has been a resounding success. In states across the country that have good exchanges, we're also seeing resounding successes. I just had a piece today in California. They're on track to hit their enrollment targets for 2014 because of a huge increase in November.
Yeah, but that's like liberal math. That's like, it's like nobody's signing up and everybody's getting their insurance canceled. That's what I'm hearing on Drudge Report.
Well, yeah. Well, you shouldn't be going on Drudge Report.
Yeah, maybe that's the solution.
That's, this is part of the story. Now, with all that said, we have a Gallup poll that came out today, I believe, that showed, or yesterday, that now 56% of the population believes that the government shouldn't be involved in healthcare. Now, this is a failure in my mind of the Obama administration to have clearly articulated benefits that everyone is enjoying now.
Oh, not only that though, Sam, but it's also a failure in, if you were to in that question say, which by the way includes Medicare, VA care, and any type of Medicaid that is federal, then the numbers would be different because, how many times did we hear, get the government off my Medicare?
I would go further. I would say the fact that you can no longer lose your policy after the fact, recidivism, the fact that you can no longer be denied a policy because of pre-existing condition, the fact that you can no longer max out on a yearly cap or a lifetime cap, the fact that there is guaranteed minimums, all of that is government intervention into the healthcare. So, yes, granted, the way that this is framed is sort of plays on people's ignorance about how healthcare works and health insurance works in this country. But those are the cards we're dealt with.
All right, we're basically out of time, Sam, but I want to get Louis just to even just maybe say a little something to you and to Michael and to Matt, because I know that you guys are just big fans of Louis. So Louis, let me let
Matt,
you sign off.
I'm not necessarily. But
Don't speak for everyone, David.
Louis,
right.
please make some kind of a statement to wrap us up. I know that people are waiting.
Oh, it's just nice to hear from you guys. We should do this more often. I wish we could. The group video thing would be a big plus, but I think it's important to communicate it in this fashion. We can, kind of help each other out. Maybe we reach some of your fans, you get some of our fans. It works for everybody.
I love it.
That would be great. I don't know. We are fans of Louis. I don't know where there was some rumor of a feud or something, and I really have no idea where that came from.
It was probably started by some haters online.
Okay, guys. Well, listen. We would love to stay. I think everybody is. That was a showstopper, I think, and we're gonna have to, on that note, kind of wrap up. We've been talking to Sam Cedar and Michael Brooks and Matt Binder, and of course Louis in Austin, Texas, and I, of course, with the worst mic quality today, apparently. But hey, we'll do what we can. Thanks, Sam.
all right, thank you, David. Always a pleasure. Bye, Louis.
See you guys.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com. The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
We've talked in the past about dolphins being considered non-human persons and getting certain rights that the average animal may not have. And there's actually a group called the Non-Human Rights Project, and they say they are the only organization working toward actual legal rights for members of species other than our own. Their mission is to change the common law status of at least some non-human animals from mere things. So I think that this is very interesting because when I was looking around at different websites about giving animals some kind of non-human person rights, most of them are animals that we tend to think of as close to humans in some way, shape, or form, either in terms of what appears to be kind of like an evolutionary way in terms of the great apes, etc., in terms of intellect, like dolphins, dogs, etc. And I'm curious whether, if we talk about which animals should be selected to have special rights, is the question of how close they are to humans really a good way to determine who should be included, Louis?
Yeah, well, I think that for some reason is the barometer because we are the most intelligent creatures on the planet. So you have to compare them to us and you say, well, how closely do they resemble us? Can they think like us? Can they feel like us? But, we've got protections coming from all sorts of different directions. Of course, you've got the people who are worried about endangered species. How many of these creatures exist? Protections are awarded in that way. So I don't know. It's a complicated issue, but I think any type of protection or I don't know, heightened awareness or help that animals can get on this planet is going to be a huge help because they're all in trouble. Let's be honest.
The other thing is, if you don't believe in evolution, can you even really contribute to the conversation about non-human rights for animals, right? I mean, if you do believe in creationism, you have a drastically different view about this because you actually believe there are humans and there is everything else, and there is no sliding scale where we say, well, here are animals that really seem to have an intellect that is close to humans. It would be much more palatable to say, God created humans, we are the only ones with souls, that's it, right? So it's interesting because whether you believe in evolution or creationism has a practical implication when thinking about something like non-human personhood in the context of animal rights.
I think largely we are talking about people who do believe in evolution and they're the ones involved in trying to get these animals help or trying to place these I don't know, what do you call it, titles on different animals. I'm sure it is people who are a bit more scientific.
All right, let's get to some of your voicemails. 219-2-DAVID-P. Call it any time of day. Here's one voicemail.
Hey, David. Great show. Can't believe our government, though. I'm just plumb sick to my stomach over it all.
Yeah.
Can't believe all this crap. It's just outrageous. All right. Good luck. Keep up the good work.
I don't know why, Lewis. I love that voicemail. He doesn't say that much, but there's just something about that guy. I love that voicemail.
He hit the nail on the head. It's all crap.
All right, and here's one more voicemail. Take a listen.
Hey, let me start by saying both you guys provide extremely perceptive and enlightened information.
Thank you.
And voting without information is like driving a car with no steering wheel. You will hurt yourself and other people. Last week I could hear the Patriots cheering when Lewis endorsed not voting. I also found it ironic that when he said that, he had on a shirt that said, "The quick fox rolls over the lazy dog."
Right.
People who don't vote are lazy dogs who get rolled over by religious fanatics, billionaires, and voters.
Wow.
Okay, thanks.
Scathing criticism there, Lewis. But now here's the thing. Lewis does vote. He just doesn't really think it makes a difference. So, Lewis, it's a very pointed criticism, but it's not completely accurate.
No, I don't always vote, but I do vote.
So you could say you don't always vote, but when you do, you make it count. Would that be a fair slogan?
My votes are based on information. I can say that with certitude.
Yeah. Okay. So there it is. A couple of voicemails. You can call our voicemail line any time of day. 219-2-DAVID-P. The Thanksgiving membership special is going on. How long have you been watching or listening to this program? Think about what that might be worth. Would it be worth, I don't know, 15 cents an episode, 20 cents an episode? Doesn't sound like very much. And you can become a supporter of the David Pakman Show and get a great deal by going to davidpakman.com/Thanksgiving13. What does that get you? It gets you a 1-year membership with all perks, including the bonus show. It gets you the full archive of shows, commercial free, all of that stuff. Plus, you get a zip-up hoodie made of 100% recycled materials and your choice of having Lewis or I record your outgoing voicemail message or a David Pakman Show bumper sticker, not available for purchase anywhere. Go to davidpakman.com/Thanksgiving13. Do it now, and in 5 minutes, you could be listening to the bonus show where yesterday we gave the explanation for where is Natan.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.